Hello everyone and welcome back. I am Ivan of Plaudit Studios and today we are going over the Fredenstein Artistic Comp Plus. The Fredenstein Artistic Comp Plus is a single channel field effect transistor or FET compressor with a multi-channel link capability in a 500 series form factor. Similar to the other Artistic series modules, the Artistic Comp Plus uses rotary controls for the input gain, release time, compression, ratio, makeup gain, and wet-dry mixing, often referred to as parallel compression. Sticking true to the vintage compressors, there is no threshold control, therefore requiring the use of the input gain to achieve the required amount of compression. In doing so, the instruments are more musical sounding and natural, enhancing the sonic characteristics versus a more sterile, precise compressor. From top to bottom, the input gain is a rotary control that lets the level gain between negative 10 dB and plus 20 dB. The ratio control sets the compression ratio in the range of 2:1 to 20:1. This is also a rotary control. Release. This is a rotary control that sets the release time of the compressor from 70 milliseconds to 2.5 seconds. Clip LED. Illuminates when the output reaches positive 24 dBu, with the total maximum headroom at plus 26 dBu. GR or gain reduction. Similar to the Artistic leveler, the first 8 dB of gain reduction are shown in 1 dB increments, with the 8 to 16 dB gain reductions shown in 2 dB increments. SC filter. Sidechain filter, switching allowing 3 separate filters. Top is 150 Hz, middle is 300 Hz, and bottom is off. Output. The rotary control to make up gain between 0 dB and plus 20 dB. Mix. This rotary control output mixer between dry or uncompressed and wet compressed. Anywhere in between is considered parallel compression, a blend between both dry and wet signals. Link. Multiple channel synchronization for 2 or more Artistic Comp Plus to be linked together with matching gain. Attack. This attack compressor time switch with the 3 options: top 5 milliseconds, middle 25 milliseconds, bottom 0.5 milliseconds. On or bypass. This switch in the upper position will illuminate, indicating the compressor is active in the on position. In the bottom position, the compressor is hard bypassed, indicated by an amber LED, with the input routed directly to the output. Note that when this is bypassed, the gain reduction meter will continue to display the depth of the compression. Technical data. The Fredenstein Artistic Comp Plus utilizes 3 major components in the design. First off, proprietary reverse Mancini FET architecture. Second, the OPA2 discrete operational amplifier. And finally, an American-made steel core output transformer, which emulates the vintage style 70s era transformers. Other technical data can and will include frequency response of 20 Hz to 20 kHz plus or minus 1 dB, maximum makeup gain of plus 20 dB, the distortion of 0.05%, noise floor is negative 90 dB, the maximum input impedance is greater than 5,000 ohms, maximum input level plus 26 dB, output impedance of 600 ohms, the maximum output level plus 26, clip indicator at plus 24, input gain between negative 10 and plus 20, sidechain filter at 150 or 300, switchable. Attack time, as we mentioned, 0.5, 5, and 25 milliseconds, respectively. The release time is also 70 milliseconds to 2.5 seconds. The compression ratio goes between 2:1 and 20:1 limiting. Also, the power consumption for this unit is plus or minus 16 volts at 75 milliamps. This means that it's a very light 500 series compressor, allowing you to basically use it in any module. Obviously, with the Fredenstein bento racks, you will have better design and it will definitely power your units.
If my mother hadn't been strong, we would have drowned that same day. If my mother hadn't been strong, we would have drowned that same day. In the evening when the sun go down, worries and troubles all the next day. If my mother hadn't been strong, we would have drowned that same day. If my mother hadn't been strong, we would have drowned that same day. In the evening when the sun go down, worries and troubles all the next day. If my mother hadn't been strong, we would have drowned that same day. If my mother hadn't been strong, we would have drowned that same day. Even when the sun go down, worries and troubles all the next day. If my mother hadn't been strong, we would have drowned that same day. If my mother hadn't been strong, we would have drowned that same day. Even when the sun go down, worries and troubles all the next day.
As with the other 500 series artistic pre's or artistic units, we have the OPA2 right here. As I mentioned in the other videos, you could definitely modify that by using the Fredenstein OPA1 or similar operational amplifiers that follow the same circuit. This is, I'm going to do it off screen, but you could just pull it out as I've shown in the other videos. And with a few seconds, you now remove the OPA1 from the socket. This is because Fredenstein understands that musicians like to tinker, and by creating a socketed design, he also allows you to just replace it with any other unit. Now, in this particular case, I did try it with the OPA1 and I believe it's the Cappy Audio transformer, and I did like it, but honestly, with the Artistic series, I've been really liking the OPA2 instead of the OPA1, and in future videos, I'll have like 60-second snippets between the two going back and forth. However, for all intents and purposes, I preferred the OPA2 for this compressor. Now, hold on while I put this back. So look, just bam. No bent pins, no broken pins, and it's ready to go. Now, with the Comp Plus, I hate to say this, but I think it's kind of mentioned because if you read the manual, he talks a lot about the 70 circuit and using the steel core transformer, but this is very similar to an 1176. Let's be honest. It's very quick. I think the quickest is 0.5 milliseconds. The release time is just absolutely boggling. It's 2.5 seconds, and it has also a fixed threshold. So a fixed threshold really reminds me of an 1176, primarily because I've used an 1176 before I had this unit. I have a UA 6176, right over there in that rack, and it hasn't been turned on in about a year. That is just because it works. Simply put, Fredenstein products just work. I mean, I've been able to dial in better sound with these, and if you heard all the demos, it's a very nice compressor. I mean, I was going, I believe on the bass, 15-1 on it, and just really trying to lay it down just so that way it's basically like a piece of tape going across the track. But no matter how much I really went in on it, it really just handled everything. Kick drum, I generally liked it to have the release time matching whatever the speed was or the tempo. That's really where the musicality comes from, if you ask me. This compressor, I always tried to match the release time with whatever I was using it for. So if I put it, like I said, on the kick drum, I would make sure it has a really quick release time because I needed it to get out of the way every hit. And when you're recording drums and very fast metal, you're dealing with 16th note hits that are going at 200 BPM plus. And you need to make sure the compressor doesn't just kind of flatline and just once you have the first transient go in and it just stays at the gain reduction the whole time and then let's go. I needed every single hit to go boop, boop, like kind of like a stair almost, and this was able to do it. Now, with the attack time, it depended on per instrument. Like the kick, I liked to have the transient come through before I kind of pushed it out. And I generally had it at the 5 millisecond spot. Guitars, I would have at the 0.5 just because I want the guitars to sustain a little better. And if I caught just as soon as the transient came in, I needed it to immediately grab it and then just pull it and sustain out. And obviously I messed with the release time for that. But it was really playing and having the time to really demo this unit that it took so long to make these videos because I put everything through its paces. And I know I'm talking generally along this entire product series. However, this one in particular I had a lot of fun with because it was me just going back and forth with the 6176 and trying them out. And I believe every case this one, or if it was like a kind of coin toss case, then I would just use whatever was more convenient. And since that is a tube circuit, I generally just had it unpowered, and I went with this because it's a solid state using SMT technology or surface mount technology. It's a wonderful compressor. I really haven't had a problem with it. I've used it kick, snare. I don't really use it on toms just because I track 3-4 toms at a time, and I could only have so much time to patch in individual units. So toms I generally will compress in the box, but in this case I ran all 4 tracks out to this unit in mono, and then I'm just giving you a stereo sound of it. With that, I did leave the whatever I set the tom ratio to, so all the settings are the same, so it kind of mimics the exact same response, but you'll hear the difference in the tone between the high tom and the floor tom. And I did use this for a mono room, and that was mainly because I could crush it. I put it in 21, have a stupid quick attack time, which is the 0.5 setting. Then I would have the longest release time and just really crunch and distort that channel. It sounded good. And as a trash mic as well, you just kind of dig it up, put it just subtly in the mix, and then be able to get that pumping sound that you really like. For bass, I generally like to leave a longer release time on this one. I would grab the transient as soon as possible. Now I will say for this track, you may not hear it if you're not hearing headphones, but the way the gentleman plays or the person plays, you could kind of hear clipping in the original audio track. It is not the Fredenstein. It is the actual original raw track, and if you gain match them, you will hear the same click noises from the distortion of the finger playing. That's out of control of what we did in the video, but in the future, like I said, I'll most likely just have like cool snippets that I'll make for more product videos just because I really like these units. And that said, acoustic guitar, I don't compress often. I generally try to have the microphone a little far away, but not like within about a foot or so of where I'm playing. And I really watch how I play, or I will make the artist play very, very particular to what I need, because acoustics, I don't like compressing. It gets kind of weird and phasey sometimes. So what I'll do is I'll really hammer down how it's being played to get a nice, consistent, leveled response, and then really do automation on the DAW, on the software side in post. For this, though, I did one record, and it was like a 30-second acoustic guitar snippet. I don't even know if it was used in the final product. I'd have to pull up the session, but I did use this, and it was really just to kind of enhance the brilliance, I would say, of the acoustic guitar, because it had a nice like overtone response when it was being played a certain way. So I know I did use this compressor for that purpose. But like I said, generally I won't use a compressor, and if I do, it's only really to get in as quick as possible, grab that transient, level it out, and then let it release. And just whatever peaks that are going in that shouldn't really be in the final product in post, I'll make sure that happens. For electric guitars, you'll notice I don't really compress them. They're already compressed, because if it's reamped or going through an amp simulator, it's basically a line. It's not going to have too much dynamic response. So there's really no need to try to kill the last little bit of dynamic range. So this was more for the sustain. And I actually had it at a much later transient response time, because I already knew these audio tracks were used to record the actual guitars. So I had it at the 25 millisecond setting for the attack time. Had it slightly quicker on the release. If not up the middle, I think it was like 2-to-1, 3-to-1. Not super crazy. Now for vocals, I love to compress vocals. I generally have multiple compression, both parallel and in series. For this video in particular, I had it at 8-1 with the attack time at 0.5. Oh, actually, this is the setting of the vocals. So input, I had it at a little above 0. So just quickly note, this is a fixed threshold. So you have to use the input gain to really level how much you want for the gain reduction. So in this case, going out of my interface, I had it at like plus 2.5 for the input. I had the sidechain filter off because if you hear the raw audio track, it's really not doing too much under 100 hertz. So I didn't worry about it pumping a lot. So I didn't have to worry too much about like a random 60 note or 60 hertz noise coming in and just obliterating my audio. So I left the sidechain filter off, and that way when he does have a lower tone to his voice, it would pick it up and kind of squish everything together, make it a little sonic, just nicer sonically. Then for the ratio, I had it at 10-1, which is pretty good. Sidechain input, obviously I left it internal, not external. This is because I only have one unit. If I had multiple, then I could sidechain external and then it'll grab the channel previous. Now, I will mention if you have a bento rack, you could use the back panel and the IO bus linking. There is a availability to do that with this Bento 8 Pro. I love it. I use it all the time. This is really funny because the Artistic series, how it was set up when it was sent to me, had the mic pre plus going in slot 5. Slot 6 was the Artistic EQ. Slot 7 was the Artistic Leveler. Slot A was the Artistic Comp Plus. So I really had an entire signal path going through. So I would go right into the mic pre. I would EQ it a little bit. I would have the compressor for the leveler, really just doing the long transients, like really just the slow notes because it's an opto kind of style, or it is an opto, excuse me. So I would have that doing the overall global sound. And then I would have this Comp Plus at the very end, just getting those quick peaks that are really bothering the rest of the track. So this is like the coolest channel strip, but not really, because at every single point I'm doing something different. And what makes it even better is that if you put your headphones in the Bento 8 Pro Plus, you could actually set the left slot or the left channel. What I did is I would set the left channel to position 5, which was just the mic pre. I would also get a parallel out or a DI out. So in case I did something really stupid from the original DI to the finished compressed sound, I would still have the original DI. That's just so I could have options later. But my left channel in the headphone would be the DI, and the right channel would be the Comp Plus because I was at the end of the signal path, and I would also grab the signal there. So that is one awesome thing. Like, it's truly awesome that this Bento 8 Pro rack does, is you could select what channels you want to hear in each ear. Now, obviously, if you set them to the same channel, it'll fold down to mono, but having it to two separate tracks is really nice, because if I needed to quickly pop off the ear and just hear what's going on in the raw track and then just flip it, I can. And that's generally how I would get my sound. And it would allow me to really just dial in whatever I wanted to. But yeah, this vocal in this track that we used, that's the setting. Output is at like a 19 dB. Oh, excuse me. The release time is at 2.5 seconds. So I'm really stretching it. And output is around 19-ish dB, if not 20 dB. No, it's at 19. And then mix, I had 100% wet. And then obviously I had it enabled. But yeah, that's really what I do for vocals. I always compress the living crap out of it. And I also run them in parallel, so that way I could have a hyper compressed and the more natural. So while the natural sound is just kind of going in and out because that's how our vocal inflections are, the hyper compressed is really just kind of adding the consistency to the track. And I felt that with the Comp Plus, Artistic Comp Plus, that it could do that well. It could have, if I wanted the parallel compression by using the mix knob. But for this particular case, I ended up just having it completely wet or completely compressed because you could hear the difference between the A and B. But overall, really, if you want a Comp Plus, it's just like everything else in this product line. It's very affordable. It's very, very great sounding. If you want to modify the op amp, you don't have to worry about voiding warranty. You don't have to worry about trying to desolder sockets. It is very easy to do. You just pop it off, pop a new one on, and you are good to go in less than 30 seconds. It'll take you longer to get the screws out and in before it does to remove the op amp and replace it. So yeah, if you're looking for an affordable compressor, you by all means get the Comp Plus or get the Leveler, either one. Like, it just depends on your application. My application, I would 90% of the time use it on vocals just because it does the 1176 thing, and it's much better than the 1176, which I have sitting right over there. I also had 3 different emulators of hardware. I had tried the Warm Audio. I've also had the Clark Technic that I sold, and I've also had another one. I can't remember what it was. On top of the multitude of compressors I have, like the 160s, the 165, the BSS, DP402, yada, yada, yada. So I've tried many compressors, and at the end of the day, this, for the price range, it easily bats in the 1,000+ range. Not a problem. And you really can't go wrong with it. It's a smooth sounding one. It can go fast if you need to go fast. If you need to squash the living crap out of something, you could squash it, not a problem. But yeah, that is really all for this video. I know I went over time again. I had notes and I just ran through all of them and I kept going through my personal opinion. But thank you for listening to all of that. If you are interested in purchasing this, go ahead and, if you're a US customer, go to sweetwater.com. You could also call their main line at 1-800-222-4700. My SC's extension is 1326 Bob Furlong. If you want a good deal, just hit him up, tell him I sent you, and he will certainly get you one of these bad boys shipped same day. Sweetwater's awesome. Fredenstein's awesome. The fact that Fredenstein is sold at Sweetwater is the most awesome. But once again, I am Ivan of Plotted Studios, and thank you so much for watching.